All right, let's talk about storytelling. Most of us think it's this huge, complicated skill, maybe even something you're just born with. But what if I told you the fastest way to become a master storyteller is just by changing how you answer one tiny question, a question you probably hear a dozen times a day?
This question, how are you? Think about it. We ask it and we answer it all the time, right? On calls, in the office, running into a friend. It's basically become conversational wallpaper. We say it completely on autopilot.
And what's our default response? Good, you? Or, fine, thanks. And look, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a huge, massive missed opportunity. Because every single time you give that automatic answer, you're passing up a chance to practice, a chance to connect, and a chance to tell a tiny, human story. So let's really dig into this missed opportunity. If you've ever felt like, I'm just not good at telling stories, I want you to hear this. It is not your fault. Seriously, it's not some talent you were born without. The real reason is actually way, way simpler. It all comes down to what we can call the repetition gap. Think of storytelling like a muscle. You wouldn't expect to get strong by going to the gym once a month, right? Of course not. And it's the exact same thing here. Most of us just aren't getting those small, consistent daily workouts to build that storytelling muscle.
So, what's the fix? Well, it's actually an incredibly simple reframe. The solution is to treat every single "how are you" as a prompt. That's it. Your new mission, should you choose to accept it, is to share a tiny story anytime someone asks.
Okay, so what does this actually sound like in the real world? Let's walk through an example. A friend asks you, "Hey, how are you?" Instead of just "good," you could try something like, "I'm good, but actually, this morning I had this little weird moment. I was interviewing the speaker for a project, someone I really look up to. And, I was feeling fine right up until the call, but the moment his face popped up on the screen, my mind just started going crazy. I was thinking, oh man, this guy is so good, he speaks so much better than me." It's just a small, vulnerable moment of nervousness, something we've all felt.
And that right there is the entire point. Did you catch that? It wasn't some perfect, polished, life-changing epic with a big moral at the end. Nope, it was just a tiny story. That's the goal. We are lowering the stakes from some big performance to a simple human share.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, how do I actually do this without it being, weird or awkward? Well, it all comes down to a super simple playbook. There are just 3 rules you need to follow.
Just 3 things to remember to make this work every time. First, you're going to share moments that are actually relatable. Second, you have to keep it short. And third, and this might be the most important one, you have to ask the right kind of question in return. Let's break them down. Rule number 1 is all about being relatable. This means we're avoiding the boring, generic stuff like the weather or the traffic, but we're also skipping the huge, dramatic life sagas. The sweet spot is the small stuff, a new skill you're trying to learn, a funny little annoyance, or just an interesting observation from your day. That's the good stuff.
Rule number 2, time. This is absolutely not the moment for a 5-minute monologue. The person asked, "How are you?" not "Tell me your entire life story." So you're aiming for a sweet spot of, say, 30 to 60 seconds. That's it. Just enough to share a real moment, not enough to make them wish they never asked.
And finally, rule number 3. This is the one that changes the entire conversation. You are going to stop ending your story with a generic, "How about you?" That's a conversation ender. Instead, you're going to ask a specific question that invites a story in return. So instead of "How about you?" you ask, "What's the most fun trip you've taken this year?" See the difference?
And here's why that's so important. This whole technique isn't just about you getting your practice reps in. The real magic happens when you make it easy and, frankly, comfortable for the other person to share their own story back. You're not just broadcasting your life, you're building a bridge to a much better conversation.
All right, so we've covered the problem, that repetition gap, and the solution, these tiny stories. Now it's about putting this simple, really powerful technique into practice. It's your turn. So let's put it all together. Here's the takeaway. From now on, view "How are you?" as your personal cue to practice. Share a tiny, relatable story. Keep it under a minute. Then, ask a specific, story-provoking question back. If you do that, you'll be getting storytelling reps in every single day, almost without even realizing it.
Which means the very next time you're on a call, or in the kitchen at work, or just waiting in line for coffee and you hear those 3 familiar words, you'll know exactly what to do.